The whole city was clapping for Liam Carter while Noah's unanswered voicemail burned a hole through his pocket. Flashbulbs cracked across the steps of City Hall, bright and white against the gray morning sky, and every time they went off, Liam smelled smoke that was not there. He stood in his dress uniform with a medal pinned over his heart, his jaw clean-shaven, his blonde hair still cut close from the station barber, his blue eyes fixed on a point somewhere beyond the crowd. To everyone watching the live broadcast, he looked steady, untouchable. The kind of alpha who could walk into a collapsing subway station and come out carrying strangers on his shoulders. 43 people had survived because of him. The mayor said that number 3 times, each time louder, each time followed by a wave of applause that rolled over the plaza like thunder. Liam heard it all as if he were underwater. His right hand stayed curled around the phone in his coat pocket, thumb pressed against the cracked screen, where one message waited. One message he had not been brave enough to play until that morning. Noah Bennett. Received 11:48 p.m. 3 nights ago, while Liam was inside the West Line transit fire, when every alarm in the city seemed to be screaming at once and the radio on his shoulder would not stop spitting out names, floors, exits, oxygen levels. Noah had called 7 times. Liam had seen the missed calls only after dawn, when his gloves were black with soot and the sky over Ashbourne was turning pale. By then, Maple Street had already become an investigation scene, with police tape on the front steps and neighbors whispering in the rain. By then, someone had handed Liam a scarf that smelled faintly of vanilla soap, laundry detergent, and the quiet warmth of home. Noah's scarf. The mayor's hand landed on his shoulder. "Captain Carter represents the best of this city," he declared. "Courage under pressure. Sacrifice without hesitation. A hero who never turns away when people need him." The crowd rose to its feet. Liam's stomach twisted so hard he almost stepped back. Never turns away. The words were clean and polished, made for headlines. They did not know about the kitchen table set for 2 in Noah's small apartment. They did not know Noah always made too much tomato soup because Liam sometimes came home starving after a 24-hour shift. They did not know about the yellow sticky notes Noah left on the fridge, reminders like "take your antacids, stubborn man," or "do not forget normal people drink water." They did not know Liam had missed their anniversary dinner for a fire on the east side. Missed breakfast the next morning for a gas leak at an elementary school. And missed the moment Noah finally stopped expecting him to walk through the door. The applause kept going. It filled the plaza, climbed the stone walls, shook the winter branches above the sidewalk. Liam felt the metal against his chest like a weight instead of an honor. His phone buzzed once, not with a new call, but because his thumb had pressed the old voicemail by accident. At first there was only static. Then a cough. Soft. Frightened. Familiar enough to undo him. "Liam!" Noah's voice came through thin and rough, wrapped in the distant cry of an alarm. The smile the cameras expected from Liam disappeared. "Do not come," Noah whispered. "Save them first." Around him, the city was still cheering. Liam could see reporters leaning forward, catching the change in his face, sensing a story without understanding the wound. His fingers tightened around the phone until the edge bit into his palm. On the recording, Noah tried to breathe. There was a small sound after that, not a scream, not even a sob. Just the broken little laugh he used whenever he was trying not to make Liam worry. "You always save everyone," Noah said, and the gentleness in it hurt more than blame ever could. "That is why I loved you." Liam's knees nearly gave. His lieutenant, Grace Miller, shifted beside him, close enough to steady him without making it obvious. A quiet act of mercy. The mayor was still talking, something about bravery, unity, rebuilding. But Liam heard only Noah, only the silence between each fragile breath, only the terrible tenderness of someone who had spent too long being strong alone. Then came the last part of the message. A pause. A crackle. Noah's voice, smaller now. "But if I disappear, please do not hate yourself." The voicemail ended. The crowd erupted again, louder than before, because the mayor had lifted Liam's hand like a champion's. Cameras flashed. People shouted his name. Somewhere nearby, a little boy in a plastic firefighter helmet waved at him with both hands. Liam looked at that child, then down at the metal pinned over his heart, and for the first time in his life, the city's love felt like an accusation. Because 43 people were alive. Because Ashbourne had a hero. Because 3 nights ago, Noah Bennett had asked him not to come. And Liam had obeyed. 3 nights earlier, Noah Bennett stood in the middle of their bedroom with an open suitcase on the floor and one folded sweater pressed against his chest. The apartment was quiet in the way it always became when Liam was gone too long. Not peaceful. Just full of small sounds that made the absence louder. The refrigerator hummed. Rain tapped against the kitchen window. Somewhere upstairs, a neighbor laughed at something on television, and the sound slipped through the ceiling like proof that other people knew how to come home. Noah looked at the sweater in his hands, a soft gray one Liam loved because Noah said it made him look less like a serious fire captain and more like a man who could be trusted to buy decent pancakes on a Sunday morning. The memory made Noah smile, but only for a second. Then his eyes burned, and he shoved the sweater into the suitcase harder than he meant to. He had packed and unpacked twice already. Socks. Phone charger. A small bottle of suppressants. The worn paperback Liam had bought him from a gas station during a snowstorm because Noah had been bored in the truck while they waited for a tow. Ordinary things. Ridiculously ordinary. That was what made leaving feel impossible. It was not the dramatic pieces of their life that held him there. It was the chipped blue mug Liam always used. The extra toothbrush by the sink. The heavy work boots Noah tripped over every morning and complained about, even though part of him loved seeing them by the door. His tote bag for Friday's community center art class sat by the door, stuffed with crayons, paper stars, and a roll of masking tape. He walked into the kitchen and stopped at the table. Dinner sat untouched beneath a sheet of foil. Tomato soup, grilled cheese, and the little bowl of pickles Liam pretended to hate but always finished first. Noah had lit a candle at 7. Blew it out at 8. Checked his phone at 9. Stopped checking at 10 because there was only so much humiliation a person could volunteer for. Liam had texted once. Big call. I am sorry. Rain check? Noah had stared at those words until they blurred. Rain check. As if love were a coupon. As if anniversaries could be rescheduled enough times and still mean the same thing. He hated himself for thinking that, because he knew what Liam did mattered. He knew there were people alive because Liam ran toward things everyone else fled. Noah had fallen in love with that courage. But somewhere along the way, he had become the quiet room Liam returned to after saving everyone else, not the person Liam chose before the alarm. On the fridge, Noah had left a yellow note that morning. Take your antacids. Eat real food. Do not pretend coffee is breakfast. He peeled it off slowly, embarrassed by the tenderness of it. Even while preparing to leave, he was still mobbing the man who kept breaking his heart by accident. In the bathroom, he found Liam's bottle of stomach medicine sitting open beside the sink. Only 2 tablets left. Noah sighed, wiped at his cheek with the heel of his hand, and pulled a new bottle from the cabinet. He placed it beside the old one, then hated the relief he felt from doing something useful. His phone buzzed on the counter. For one sharp, foolish second, he thought it was Liam. It was not. The number was blocked. The message was only one line. If he will not come home, maybe smoke will bring him. Noah stared at the screen, his fingers going cold. At first, he thought it had to be a cruel joke. Some wrong number. Some bitter stranger. But then a second message appeared, and this one carried a picture. Their apartment door, taken from the hallway outside. The brass number 304 shone clearly in the dim light. Noah stopped breathing for a moment, not because he understood, but because some deeper instinct in him did. He reached for Liam's contact, thumb hovering above the call button. Shame stopped him first. Then anger. Then fear. What would he say? That someone was trying to frighten him? That after weeks of feeling invisible, he suddenly needed Liam to prove he could still come when Noah called? His pride was a thin, trembling thing, but he held on to it anyway. He locked the deadbolt, slid the chain into place, and backed away from the door. The suitcase remained open in the bedroom, half full, waiting like a decision he still had not made. On the kitchen table, the soup had gone cold. On the counter, Liam's medicine sat neatly where Noah had left it. And outside the apartment, beneath the soft sound of rain, something shifted in the hallway. The thing in the hallway was not a person at first. It was a sound. A soft scrape near the bottom of the door, so light Noah could have convinced himself it was the building settling if his skin had not already gone cold. He stood barefoot in the kitchen, phone in one hand, the other pressed over his mouth to keep his breathing quiet. Rain blurred the window behind him. The apartment smelled like cold tomato soup, candle wax, and the faint cedar detergent Liam used on his station shirts. Noah hated that the scent comforted him. He hated that his first instinct was still to call the alpha who had not come home for dinner. The scrape came again. Then silence. Noah backed toward the hallway, eyes fixed on the chain lock. His thumb finally hit Liam's name. The call rang once. Twice. On the third ring, it went to voicemail. Of course it did. A laugh slipped out of Noah, small and ugly with hurt. He ended the call before the recorded message could finish, ashamed that one missed call could still make him feel 16 and foolish. Then his phone rang in his hand. Liam. Noah stared at the screen for one frozen second before answering. Noah? Liam's voice was rough with exhaustion, wrapped in radio noise and wind. I saw your call. Are you okay? The concern in it nearly broke him. I do not know, Noah whispered. Someone sent me a message. They are outside my door, I think. Everything on Liam's end changed. The distant noise faded, as if he had stepped away from the others. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, steadier, the voice of a man who could command a room full of panic into silence. Go to the bathroom. Lock the door. Take a towel and put it under the gap. Do not open the apartment door for anyone except me or uniformed police. Do you understand? Noah swallowed. You sound like you are at work. There was a pause, too short to be honest, and too long to be nothing. I am. Then do not make promises. The words came out sharper than he intended. He heard Liam breathe in, slow and controlled, and could picture him pinching the bridge of his nose the way he did when he was trying not to show fear. I am not promising. I am moving. He was already walking away from the engine when the alarm cut through the line. Noah should have felt relief. Instead, tears rose hot behind his eyes. Liam, that is the problem. You always move for emergencies. I just never know if I count as one. The silence that followed was so complete Noah could hear rainwater sliding down the glass. Then Liam said very softly, You count before everything. It was the kind of sentence Noah had wanted to hear for months, and it arrived at the worst possible time. A gentle lie, or maybe a truth that had learned to show up late. Before Noah could answer, a sharp alarm burst through Liam's side of the call, followed by a dispatcher's voice calling out units to West Line Station. Multiple reports. Underground smoke. Possible trapped commuters. Liam cursed under his breath, not at Noah, never at Noah, but at the universe for its terrible timing. Noah closed his eyes. There it was. The city, reaching for him with both hands. Go, Noah said. No, Liam. His name came out softer than either of them deserved. There are people down there. There is you. Noah looked toward the locked front door. The hallway had gone quiet again, which somehow felt worse. And if you do not go, you will hate yourself for that too. On the other end, Liam made a sound like pain being swallowed. Noah imagined him standing beside the engine, helmet under one arm, his public face. Returning piece by piece. Captain Carter. Calm. Reliable. Untouchable. But his voice, when he spoke only to Noah, was stripped bare. I am sending Grace to you. She is 2 blocks away doing inspections. Stay on the line until she gets there. Warmth moved through Noah despite everything. Even when pulled away, Liam was trying to leave a shield behind. A quiet, practical kind of love. You remembered she was nearby? I remember everything that keeps you safe. Noah almost answered. He almost said, then why do I still feel alone? But a knock sounded at the door, firm and official. Ashbourne Fire Department. Grace Miller? Noah, it is me. Relief hit so suddenly his knees weakened. Through the peephole, he saw Grace in a Navy Department jacket, rain shining in her dark hair, one hand resting near her radio. Noah opened the door only after she showed her badge. Grace stepped in, glanced once at the suitcase in the bedroom, then looked away as if protecting his dignity. Her expression softened. He called me before dispatch finished the address, she said. For what it is worth. Noah looked down at his phone. Liam was still there, breathing hard, waiting. For a moment, none of them spoke. Then the radio on his end roared again, and Noah knew the choice had already been made, even if Liam hated it. Save them first, Noah whispered, because loving him had always meant learning how to say goodbye before he left. Liam's answer was barely audible over the sirens starting behind him. I am coming back to you. The line went dead a second later. In the hallway outside apartment 304, Grace found a damp matchbook resting by the welcome mat, its blank white cover marked with one black fingerprint. Grace Miller had always been the kind of woman who could make fear feel slightly embarrassed of itself. She stood in Noah's doorway with rain dripping from her jacket, a flashlight in one hand and the damp matchbook sealed inside a plastic evidence bag in the other, looking less like a firefighter off duty and more like someone's very tired older sister. First rule, she said, scanning the hallway. If a creepy little souvenir appears outside your door, we do not touch it with bare hands. Second rule, we pretend I did not just say creepy little souvenir in an official tone. Noah let out a breath that almost became a laugh. It hurt, but it helped. The apartment still smelled like cold soup and panic, and his suitcase was visible from the hallway, half-packed, accusing him from the bedroom floor. Grace noticed again. This time, she did not look away fast enough. Noah flushed. I was not running away. Grace raised one eyebrow. That is a very organized suitcase for someone not running away. I was considering a temporary relocation with socks. Her mouth twitched. Very professional. The tiny moment of humor faded as quickly as it came. Grace checked the deadbolt, the window locks, the smoke detector, and the narrow back stairwell that led down to the alley. She moved with the quiet efficiency of someone trained to see danger before it introduced itself. Noah followed her from room to room, arms wrapped around himself, feeling strangely exposed by the ordinary details of his own life. The mug Liam used, the bottle of antacids he had replaced. The sticky note still stuck to his fingers because he had forgotten he was holding it. Grace paused by the fridge and read it before she could stop herself. Take your antacids. Eat real food. Do not pretend coffee is breakfast. Her expression softened in a way that made Noah look down. He keeps those, you know. Noah blinked. What? Your notes. In his locker. Not all of them. That would be alarming, even for Liam. But a few. She cleared her throat, suddenly awkward. One says bring home milk, hero. The guys tease him about it because he actually framed it with station tape. Noah stared at her, caught between tenderness and pain. Liam, who forgot birthdays unless Noah set reminders. Liam, who could look at a burning building and calculate exits in seconds, had kept a stupid grocery note in his locker. It made Noah angry all over again, because it proved the love was there. Hidden. Inconveniently real. Just not always reaching him in time. Grace's radio crackled, and both of them went still. Westline Station. Heavy smoke conditions. Captain Carter's unit entering the lower platform. Noah's throat tightened. Grace turned the volume down, but not before he heard Liam's voice cut through the static, calm and firm, guiding someone toward the north stairwell. The sound of him working should have comforted Noah. Instead, it made him feel like he had been split in two. One half loved him for that voice. The other half hated how familiar it was to be left with only the echo of it. He asked me to stay until police arrive, Grace said gently. He also asked me to tell you he is sorry. Noah laughed once, without humor. For tonight, or for all the other nights? Grace did not answer right away. That silence was kinder than a defense. Then she said, He is not good at coming home empty-handed. If he cannot fix something, he keeps moving until there is something he can fix. Noah looked at the table. The soup had formed a dull skin beneath the foil. I am not a fire. His voice was quiet. I never needed him to rescue me every time. I needed him to sit down while the food was still warm. Grace's face shifted, and Noah realized he had said the thing he had been avoiding for months. Not that Liam was cruel. Not that Liam did not love him. The truth was worse because it was smaller. Noah had been lonely beside a good man. Outside, a police siren gave a short chirp as a cruiser pulled up to the curb. Grace went to meet the officers in the hall, leaving Noah alone for 1 minute in the kitchen. His phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. His first instinct was to ignore it, but the screen lit again with a message. He still runs faster for sirens. Noah's fingers tightened around the phone. Then, before he could call Grace back, the building fire alarm screamed overhead, loud enough to shake the walls. The alarm turned Noah's apartment into a box of sound. It screamed from the ceiling, sharp and relentless, bouncing off the cabinets, the framed photos, the half-packed suitcase still open in the bedroom. For 1 second, Noah could not move. Not because he did not know what to do, but because every ordinary object around him suddenly looked like something he might never see again. Liam's chipped blue mug by the sink. The soup on the table. The sticky note curled in his damp palm. Then Grace was there, pushing the door open with the police officer behind her, her voice calm but urgent. Noah, shoes. Jacket. We are going down the west stairs. Is it real? Noah asked, already reaching for his sneakers. Grace glanced toward the hall, where neighbors were stepping out in pajamas and winter coats, faces pale under the emergency lights. We treat every alarm like it is real until it proves it is not. Noah almost smiled, because he had heard Liam say the same thing a dozen times while changing the batteries in their smoke detector every fall. He used to make a whole production of it, standing on a kitchen chair while Noah held the package of 9-volt batteries and teased him for acting like a home safety commercial. Liam would point at him with the old battery and say, Mock me now, but when this saves your life, I expect a written apology. Noah had always rolled his eyes. Then he would steady the chair with both hands anyway. The memory hit so hard that Noah nearly missed the first step in the stairwell. Grace caught his elbow, firm and careful. I have you. Those 3 words should have helped. Instead, they cracked something open. Because Noah remembered another stairwell, years ago, in his mother's apartment complex outside Portland, Maine, when he was 9 and the power went out during a snowstorm. His father had promised he would be home before dinner. He did not come home until 2 days later, smelling like road salt and excuses. Noah's mother had sat on the floor beside him with a flashlight between them, playing cards and pretending not to listen for tires in the driveway. That was where Noah learned waiting could become a skill. Quiet hands. Quiet face. Do not ask too much. Do not need too loudly. By the time he met Liam, he had mistaken patience for strength. They reached the second-floor landing, and an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, struggled with her oxygen tank near the railing. Noah stopped without thinking. Mrs. Alvarez. Grace looked back. Noah, keep moving. She cannot carry that alone. The officer will help her. But Mrs. Alvarez was frightened, and her little terrier was barking from inside a canvas carrier, and Noah's body had already decided before his fear could argue. He took the carrier, tucked it against his chest, and gave Mrs. Alvarez the kind of smile he used with scared children at the community center. Peanut is offended by this whole situation, he said softly. The old woman let out a shaky laugh. He hates stairs. Honestly, same. Grace stared at him for half a second, torn between irritation and respect, then took the oxygen tank herself. Fine. But we are moving. They descended together, slow enough for Mrs. Alvarez, steady enough to keep panic from spreading. Noah counted each landing under his breath. Third. Second. First. His hands trembled around the dog carrier, but his voice stayed gentle. At the bottom, cold rain rushed in through the open exit door, and the night outside flashed red and blue with emergency lights. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk under umbrellas and blankets. Some looked annoyed. Some looked scared. Some filmed with their phones because people always filmed what they did not understand. Noah stepped onto the wet pavement and finally breathed. Then he saw the fire truck turn the corner too fast, tires hissing through the rain. Liam jumped down before the engine fully settled, helmet in hand, face streaked with soot from the other call, eyes searching the crowd with naked fear. Not Captain Carter. Not the medal. Just Liam, terrified and human. Their eyes met across 30 feet of rain and siren light. For one impossible second, Noah forgot every missed dinner. He only saw the man who had come. Liam started toward him, then stopped when Noah took half a step back. The hurt that crossed Liam's face was small, controlled, and devastating. He understood. He had no right to reach first. Grace moved beside Noah and said, low enough that only he could hear. For the record, he broke no fewer than 3 speed recommendations getting here. Noah swallowed, still clutching Peanut's carrier. That is not funny. It was a little funny. Also terrifying. Liam looked from Noah to the dog, to Mrs. Alvarez, to Grace holding the oxygen tank. Something softened in his expression, a pride so quiet it made Noah's chest ache. He did not say you should have left faster. He did not say I told you to get out. He only took off his own turnout coat and held it open, not stepping closer. An offer, not a claim. Rain ran down Noah's hair and into his collar. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to walk into that warmth and disappear. Before he could choose, a firefighter from the building entrance called out, Captain, no active fire in the units. But we found a small remote trigger taped under the alarm panel. It was meant to scare people, not start a fire. The sidewalk went silent around them. Liam's gaze sharpened, all tenderness vanishing beneath a cold, focused fear. Noah looked down at the block number still glowing on his phone. Another message appeared. This was only practice. By the morning after the ceremony, everyone in Ashbourne had a theory. The local news called it a suspicious alarm at Maple Street. Social media called it a scandal before breakfast. Someone had filmed Liam standing in the rain with his coat held open for Noah, his face bare with worry, his uniform blackened from the West Line rescue. Someone else had posted a blurry clip of Noah stepping back instead of going to him. By noon, strangers were arguing under the video as if pain were a sport. Some said Captain Carter had a secret omega. Some said Noah was ungrateful. Some said Liam had abandoned him. The worst comments were the ones that were almost kind. Poor guy saved the whole city and still cannot win at home. Noah read that one 3 times while sitting at his mother's kitchen table, then turned his phone face down beside a mug of tea he had not touched. His mother, Diane Bennett, did not ask if he was all right. She had never trusted questions with obvious answers. Instead, she set a plate of toast in front of him and slid the butter closer. Eat 1 piece, she said. You can fall apart after carbohydrates. Noah looked at the toast and almost laughed. Almost. Diane lived in a small white house 15 minutes outside the city, with blue shutters, creaky floors, and a refrigerator covered in school photos from Noah's childhood. He had come there after the police finished their first interview, carrying nothing but his phone, his wallet, and Peanut's dog hair on his sweater. His suitcase was still back at the apartment, half-packed, probably surrounded by investigators and gloves. It felt strangely humiliating, like even his attempt to leave had become evidence. Grace had asked a patrol unit to keep an eye on the block, Diane said, nodding toward the front window as a patrol car rolled slowly past the house. Noah knew Liam's work even when Liam kept his distance. He should not have done that. Would you rather he did nothing? Noah had no answer. That was the cruel part. Liam's care had always arrived in ways that were hard to accuse. Replaced batteries. Paid parking tickets. Extra gloves in Noah's car. A patrol car passing his mother's street because someone had threatened him. Practical love. Useful love. Love that could still leave a person eating anniversary soup alone. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Grace. Liam is not coming by unless you ask. He said you deserve quiet? Noah stared at the words until his throat tightened. Quiet. Liam had finally given him what he had been begging for, and it felt like another kind of abandonment. Diane sat across from him, folding her hands around her coffee. When your father left during storms, I used to tell myself it was because roads needed fixing, people needed help, somebody somewhere needed him more. It made me feel noble. It also made me lonely. Noah looked up. Liam is not Dad. No, she said gently. But you learn how to wait before you learn how to ask. That sentence landed too accurately. Noah pushed the toast away. I asked last night. And he came. After he saved the other people. Diane did not defend Liam. That made it worse. Maybe that is the problem, she said. You want him to choose you in a world that keeps creating emergencies. And he wants to love you without admitting he is scared to be ordinary. Across town, Liam sat alone in the station kitchen, still in yesterday's undershirt, staring at a paper cup of coffee gone cold. The medal from the ceremony lay on the table in front of him, bright and useless. Around him, the crew moved. Carefully, speaking softer than usual. Nobody joked about the video. Nobody asked about Noah. Then a woman in a tailored navy coat walked in with a fire department badge clipped at her belt and a folder tucked under one arm. Erin Vale, Internal Investigations. No one in the kitchen spoke. Even the coffee machine seemed too loud. She looked at Liam, then at the medal. Captain Carter, until we know why your private address was targeted and why your unit was redirected, you are restricted from command decisions on any call connected to Maple Street or Noah Bennett. The kitchen went still. Liam's face did not change. That was how Noah would have known he was hurt. Understood, he said. Erin lowered her voice. There is more. The anonymous messages came from a device pinging near Westline Station during the rescue. Liam's fingers tightened once around the coffee cup. Someone in the department. Possibly. She hesitated. One name has already appeared twice in the access logs. Paul Sutter, a former relief dispatcher you reported 6 months ago. Another pause. And Captain, the press already has part of it. Liam closed his eyes for half a second. Not for himself. For Noah. His phone sat on the table, Noah's contact open, unsent words filling the message box. I am sorry. I am scared. I do not know how to fix this without making it worse. He deleted all of it. Then he typed one sentence instead. I will stay away until you feel safe. Noah received it 5 minutes later at his mother's table. He read it once, then again. Outside, the patrol car moved slowly past the house again, silent and protective. Inside, Noah felt something colder than anger settle in his chest. Because Liam had misunderstood him perfectly. Noah had wanted space. But some wounded, foolish part of him had also wanted Liam to fight a little harder before letting go. Noah waited until after sunset to go back to Maple Street. He told his mother it was because he needed clothes, which was true in the way a bandage was true. It covered the surface, not the wound. Grace drove him, quiet behind the wheel, the city lights sliding over her face in pale gold streaks. She did not ask why he had Liam's old station hoodie folded in his lap, washed clean, the sleeves still faintly shaped by years of being pulled over his hands on cold mornings. She only parked across from the building and said, 10 minutes. If you are not out, I am coming in and making it embarrassing. Noah managed a small smile. You are very committed to public humiliation. It is one of my better skills. The lobby smelled like wet concrete and cleaning spray. Yellow tape still crossed the alarm panel, and a maintenance fan hummed near the mailboxes. Apartment 304 looked smaller than Noah remembered. The door opened with a soft click, and for a moment he just stood there, staring at the life he had almost packed away. The soup was gone now, thrown out by someone with gloves. The table had been wiped clean. But the yellow sticky note he had peeled from the fridge lay on the counter, curled at the edges, saved from the mess like evidence of love. Noah placed Liam's hoodie beside it. Then he added the spare key. The sound it made against the counter was tiny. Final. He told himself that was why his eyes burned. He was still standing there when Liam appeared in the doorway. No uniform. No helmet. Just jeans, a dark coat, and a face so tired it made him look older than 32. He stopped the second he saw Noah, one hand lifting as if to knock on a door that was already open. Grace told me because the case is still active, Liam said. Not because I asked her to. Noah looked past him toward the hall. She would. I know. I trained her. The joke landed softly and died there. Liam saw the hoodie on the counter. Then the key. Something in his expression went very still. Noah had expected anger, maybe panic, maybe that commanding Captain Carter voice that could turn chaos into order. Instead, Liam only nodded once, as if accepting a report he had been dreading. Okay, he said. Noah hated him a little for making it easy. That is all? Liam swallowed. What do you want me to say? I do not know. Noah's voice shook, and he was embarrassed by it. Maybe something selfish. Just once. Liam looked at him then, truly looked, and the rawness in his eyes made the room feel too small. I want to lock the door behind us and ask you to stay, he said quietly. I want to tell the department to keep their badge, tell the city to find another hero, and spend the next year learning how to make tomato soup the way you do. I want to be selfish so badly it scares me. Noah could not move. The refrigerator hummed between them like a held breath. Liam stepped no closer. That restraint hurt more than if he had reached for him. But the last time I decided what was best in an emergency, you ended up alone, Liam said. So I am not going to turn my fear into pressure and call it love. Noah's fingers curled around the edge of the counter. There it was. The answer he had wanted, arriving too gently to save him from it. I was leaving before the fire, he whispered. Liam's face changed just a fraction. I know. You know? I saw the suitcase. And you did not ask? Liam gave a small, broken smile. I thought if I asked you would tell me the truth. And I was not brave enough to hear that I had made our home feel like a waiting room. The words struck so cleanly Noah had to look away. Outside, a siren passed somewhere far off, rising and fading through the rainy street. For the first time, Liam did not turn toward the sound. He stayed looking at Noah. That should have healed something. Instead, it made Noah realize how late they both were. His phone buzzed before either of them could speak again. Unknown number. A photo appeared on the screen. The fire station kitchen, taken through the window. Liam's medal sat on the table beside a paper cup of cold coffee. Under the photo was one sentence. He cannot protect both homes. Liam reached for his own phone at the same time, but Noah saw the truth in his face before he said a word. Whoever had done this was not watching Noah anymore. They had followed Liam home. The station looked different without Liam inside it. Noah had only been there a handful of times, usually carrying a grocery bag of muffins or a container of soup because Liam forgot meals the way some people forgot umbrellas. Back then, the firehouse had felt alive in a messy, human way. Booths lined beneath benches. A baseball game murmuring from the lounge television. Someone laughing too loudly near the coffee machine. Tonight, every light seemed too bright, every sound too careful. Grace brought them through the side entrance after calling Aaron Vale, and nobody joked when Noah stepped into the kitchen. That was how he knew the fear had spread. Liam's medal was exactly where the photo had shown it, lying beside a paper cup of cold coffee. It should have looked important. Instead, under the fluorescent lights, it looked small, like a shiny thing a man had set down because it could not help him. Noah stood at the threshold, suddenly aware that he was still holding Liam's old hoodie against his chest. He had meant to leave it behind. Somehow, when the message arrived, his hand had closed around it again. Liam noticed but did not comment. That quiet mercy hurt. Aaron Vale opened the folder on the table. The device used to send the messages bounced through public networks, but the timing lines up with internal dispatch access. Someone knew exactly when Westline would pull Captain Carter away from Maple Street. Liam's jaw tightened. Who? Aaron slid a printed call log across the table. Not proof yet. But your former relief dispatcher, Paul Sutter, was in the building during both incidents. He resigned 6 months ago after you filed a safety complaint against him. Grace muttered something under her breath. Liam did not look surprised. That was worse. Noah turned to him slowly. You knew someone might hate you enough to do this? No. Liam's voice was quiet. I knew someone hated being held responsible. Aaron's expression softened by half an inch. Captain Carter reported Sutter for ignoring a maintenance warning during a drill. No one was hurt, but it could have gone badly. The department buried it quietly. Sutter blamed Liam for ruining his career. Noah looked at the medal again. Public hero. Private target. The city had clapped for Liam without seeing how many people resented the man who refused to look away from danger, even when it made him inconvenient. And Noah, in his own hurt, had missed it too. Not all of it. Not Liam's absence, not the lonely dinners, not the way love could become a room with one chair. Those wounds were real. But there was another truth standing beside them now. Liam had been carrying threats and pressure and guilt in the same silent way he carried everything else, close to the chest, where no one could accuse him of needing comfort. Aaron handed Noah a clear evidence sleeve. Inside was a folded yellow note, wrinkled from station tape. Bring home milk, hero. Noah stared at his own handwriting. It was in Liam's locker, Aaron said. Sutter photographed it last month. We think that is how he learned your name. The room blurred at the edges. For months, Noah had thought his tenderness disappeared into Liam's busy life. Now he realized some of it had been carried into the firehouse, folded and taped inside a locker like something sacred. Noah pressed the heel of his hand to his eye, embarrassed by the tears and too tired to hide them well. Liam stepped forward, then stopped himself again. Always stopping now. Always waiting for permission he had not needed before. Noah, he said. I am sorry. It was not enough. It was also everything he had. Noah looked at him, at the man the city called fearless, standing there afraid of crossing 6 feet of kitchen tile. I thought I was the only one waiting, Noah whispered. Liam's face folded for one brief second before he gathered himself. You were waiting at home. I was waiting to become the kind of man who deserved to stay there. No one spoke after that. Even Grace looked away. Aaron's phone buzzed, sharp against the silence. She read the message, and all the color left her face. The community center, she said. There is a gas report and a triggered alarm. Noah's breath caught. His kids. The after-school group. The little art room with paper stars taped to the windows. Liam was already moving, but this time he did not run past Noah into duty. He stopped in front of him, close enough for Noah to see the exhaustion in his blue eyes, far enough to keep the choice clean. I need to go, Liam said. But I am asking you to come with Grace, not because I own your safety, not because I get to decide. Because those children trust you, and because I trust you to help us get them out calmly. Noah felt the shape of the old hurt inside him, waiting for the familiar answer. Save them first. Leave me behind. But this was different. Liam was not choosing the city instead of him. He was making room for Noah to stand beside him in the part of his life that had always taken him away. Noah nodded once, still holding the hoodie. Then let us go before you start giving a safety lecture. Grace grabbed her keys. Too late. His face already looks educational. For one fragile second, Liam almost smiled. Then the station alarm roared overhead, red light washing over the metal left behind on the table, and Noah understood with a cold certainty that this time, The fire was not meant to separate them. It was meant to prove they could not survive together. The community center did not burn the way Noah had feared it would. There were no towering flames against the sky, no dramatic collapse, no moment where the city held its breath for a miracle. It was smaller than that, and somehow more frightening because of it. A faulty smell in the hallway. A pulled alarm. Children crying in winter coats as teachers counted heads under the awning. Rain falling steady and cold, turning the chalk drawings on the sidewalk into soft rivers of color. Noah moved through the children the way he always did, kneeling, buttoning jackets, making his voice gentle enough to hold onto. Hands in pockets. Eyes on me. We are walking to the library, just like a field trip. Liam stood 10 feet away, speaking only when Grace asked for details, forcing himself to let the crew lead. That was new. Not rescue from above. Partnership beside him. When the last child was safely across the street, Noah looked back and saw Liam turn toward the alley behind the building. For 1 second, their eyes met. Liam did not say stay here. Noah did not say do not go. They both understood the work. They both understood the cost. Paul Sutter was found before he could leave the service entrance, not by Liam alone, but by the people Liam had trusted enough to call in. Aaron. Grace. 2 officers. Procedure, not pride. No chaos. No hero scene. Just handcuffs clicking. Quietly under the rain, while Sutter looked less like a monster than a bitter man who had mistaken blame for purpose. That almost made it sadder. Liam had waited for Grace's signal. He had let Aaron coordinate with the officers. He had not tried to become the whole answer by himself. Later, when the statements were taken and the children had gone home with their parents, Liam and Noah sat on the back steps of the community center beneath a narrow overhang. The rain made silver lines in the parking lot. Liam's hands were wrapped around a paper cup of coffee he had not touched. Noah held one too, mostly for warmth. For a while, either of them spoke. They had survived the night. That should have felt like an ending. Instead, it felt like an honest beginning to a harder truth. I am leaving Ashbourne for a while, Noah said. Liam looked at him, but he did not flinch. Maybe he had learned that love was sometimes listening without trying to stop the sentence. Portland? He asked. Noah nodded. My mother has a friend who runs a preschool near the coast. They need help through spring. I said yes. The old Liam might have asked for how long, might have made a plan before the wound had room to breathe. This Liam only lowered his eyes to the coffee and nodded once. Good, he said, and the word was rough. You always liked the ocean. Noah smiled faintly. I liked complaining that it was too cold. You bought 3 sweatshirts in one weekend. They were charming. They said Maine Lobster Festival. Like I said. A small laugh passed between them, fragile and real. It did not fix anything. That was why it mattered. Liam reached into his coat and took out the medal. Not polished now, not shining under cameras, just a piece of metal resting in his palm. I thought about giving this back to the city, he said. But Grace told me that would be dramatic in an annoying way. Grace is usually right. Unfortunately. He placed the medal beside Noah on the step. I am keeping it. Not because I think I earned all the applause. Because I need to remember the night I finally understood that saving people is not the same as loving them well. Noah touched the edge of the medal. With one finger. It was cold from the rain. And I need to remember that being loved by a good man does not mean I have to disappear inside his goodness. Leaving was not punishment. It was the first promise Noah had ever made to himself and kept. Liam closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were wet but steady. Can I write to you? Noah breathed in slowly. The answer was not simple. Nothing about them had ever been simple, even when they pretended it was. Yes, he said. But not every day. And not like reports. Liam almost smiled. No bullet points. No apologies disguised as weather updates. That removes most of my skill set. This time Noah laughed, and it hurt in the cleanest way. The next morning, At the bus station, Liam did not wear his uniform. He came in a dark sweater, carrying a paper bag from Noah's favorite bakery and 2 coffees, one with too much vanilla because he always added too much when he was nervous. Diane waited near the doors with Noah's suitcase. Grace stood outside by the curb, pretending not to watch and watching completely. Liam handed Noah the coffee first. Their fingers touched for one quiet second. No claim. No promise big enough to crush them. Just warmth. "Come home when you want to," Liam said. Noah looked at him, at the man who had arrived late too many times and was finally learning not to turn love into a rescue call. "I will come back when coming back does not mean losing myself." Liam nodded, and this time he let the words hurt without fighting them. The bus engine rumbled awake. Noah stepped toward the door, then paused and looked back. Liam stood in the gray morning light with both hands empty, letting him go because holding on had become the one thing love could not ask for. Months later, the first letter arrived in Portland. No apology at the top. No desperate promise. Just one line, written in Liam's careful, uneven hand. "Day I made tomato soup. And I sat down while it was still warm." Noah read it twice by the window, the ocean wind rattling the glass. He folded the letter back into its envelope and placed it beside the window, not hidden away, not answered yet. For the first time, he did not cry because Liam was late. He cried because maybe, somewhere far behind them, Liam had finally started coming home.